Wagwan, it's a deal. Thank you so much for joining my channel, and thank you so much for the support. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. So in my last video, I spoke about my Whole30 diet, and my transformation was phenomenal. However, I do have some updates for you, an update that really left me hospitalized for 3 days. So I'm going to talk to you about what happened, how it happened, why it happened. So stay tuned. Okay, so let me tell you what the Whole30 is about. So for 30 days, you refrain from eating certain foods that contain soy, wheat, legumes, added sugar, alcohol. Did I say soy? I think I did. So you take all of those things out of your diet for 30 days and you eat wholesome foods. And the creators of this program, Melissa and her husband, they found that in their research, these foods that contains these nutrients or these things can actually be causing some of the illnesses that you're faced with, as well as it could be messing up your digestive tract. And I have been receiving a lot of pressure in Japan to lose weight during my pregnancy. After starting the program, I experienced phenomenal results. Some of the things associated with pregnancy were gone or lessened. So for example, I could poop freely all the time without any constipation. So I was very happy. My bloating went away. I no longer had bleeding gums, which was such a relief because it also got very painful inside my mouth there, as well as I had no problem with round ligament pain. So because I was able to control my weight gain, I no longer had my weight plus the baby's weight pressing down on my abdominal muscles. So my round ligament pain lessened, my back pain lessened. Oh yes. I had so many positive results. But most of all, I started my program from my 24th week of pregnancy, and I completed it on my 30th week of pregnancy. That's 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Yes. So 7 weeks. Can you imagine how much I gained? Only 400 grams. The baby was healthy. He was gaining a lot of weight. Actually, that 400 grams that I gained was all baby weight. So I personally wasn't gaining weight, and my doctors congratulated me. But yet again, they went back to, you need to control your weight. So I had phenomenal results from the program. At the beginning of my 31st week on day 1, I started feeling very dizzy, and I didn't have the energy that I used to. And I slept for most of the days. Then on day 2 of my 31st week, it was the same thing. And I thought maybe I needed some more calcium or something. So my partner, he took me out on the road, and I went in the grocery store and I was shopping by myself. And I felt really dizzy, and I could hardly stand. The things I had in my hand fell, and I picked them up, and I threw the money at the cashier like, here, get this. Because I knew something was wrong, and I messaged my partner and said, something is wrong, come and get me. And I had enough strength to pack my grocery bags, and I was about to fall, and I held on to the door, and I braced myself against the door, and I fell flat on my butt. That must have been painful, but I was I was so out, and I fainted right there just outside the store because I knew my partner was coming to get me, and I needed him to be able to see me. So he rushed me to my ladies' clinic where I get my usual checkups. they couldn't figure out what was happening with me, but monitoring the baby, he was very genki, he was very good, but they couldn't figure out why I was losing consciousness. So I was in and out of consciousness, and they just couldn't figure it out. Then they called up the big guns, woot woot. They called up the ambulance, and they took me to a primary care facility, that's the hospital. And I went into the emergency room. They had to like cut off my shirt because they needed to do all these tests, and needles and needles and needles. Oh, I felt those. And at one point they said to me, move your hand. And I said, I'm moving my hand. Then they said to me, move your feet. I closed my eyes. I was like, I'm moving my feet. And they're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yes, I am. They're like, no, you're not. I'm like, yes, I am. I didn't have all this energy, but they couldn't figure out anything that was happening, and I couldn't figure out what was happening with my body. But the amazing thing was that they were still able to monitor the baby while I was in and out of consciousness. And so they hospitalized me for 3 days. And that was only last week. I'm okay. Finally, I can eat. I'm a little drunk with sleep. I'm tired. I'm still weak, but I'm okay. After going through a barrage of testings and needles, the doctor told me that I fainted because I was hypoglycemic. That's where my blood sugar went very low. And on my second day of my hospitalization, I got tested for some other diseases, which included diabetes, and they found that I had gestational diabetes. And when I reflect upon my Whole30 diet and my experience, while I got the necessary nutrients I needed, my snacks contained a lot of fruits. I was getting up 2 o'clock at night, and I was eating an orange, or I was eating an apple. And sometimes I was eating an apple, an orange, a raspberry, and something else. So I was getting the sugar in the fructose, in the fructose level. So that contributed a lot to the gestational diabetes, as well as my starch intake. I also increased my starch intake during my program. So the carbohydrate then broke down into sugar. So while the program worked wonders for me in my weight control and in helping me to give the baby all the necessary nutrients, if you're considering it, then make sure that you lessen or pay attention to your carbohydrate, your carb intake, as well as your fruit intake, because that might make a difference for you with your overall post experience on the program. But it's still a program I highly recommend, and it's still a program that I'm definitely going to do after my pregnancy. Just a little sneak peek. This is what I got from the hospital. All this goodness. So I'm going to show you how is it that what these are, why they gave me these, and how they are used. So that's going to be my next video, so please tune in. And thank you. Sayonara.